Hello, beautiful rock stars, and welcome to another episode of the Rock Your World Naturally show. I always appreciate you taking out time to rock your world naturally with me. Growing up, did you ever hear the adage, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me? In actuality, this is certainly not true, as the Word of God in Proverbs 15 and 4 shares, kind words bring life, but cruel words crush your spirit. My guest, Abbey Haegney, shares her story of how she struggled with poor body image and negative self talk from words that crushed her spirit during childhood. She shares how faith helped her to break free from the script of criticism that was running through her mind. Her experience took her from being broken and into living a life of freedom and empowerment. Let's get into it. When it comes to women's health, there's an overwhelming amount of information out there, and honestly, it can be quite confusing. Diets, fads, trends, which one is right? What if I told you the answers to optimal health can be found in one of the most ancient medical books ever written, the Bible? If you're ready to take the guesswork out of living a healthier life, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Rock Your World Naturally show. I'm Rekishia McMillan, honorably retired Air Force veteran, certified health coach, and award-winning author. After years of trying to recover my health the world's way, I was still sick, depressed, and had no energy. Finally, I surrendered to God, and He showed me in the Bible how to recover my health, and it rocked my world naturally. My calling is to help women who are struggling and burnout to have more energy and lose weight by using God's prescription for physical, mental, and spiritual health. If you're ready to experience extraordinary health, grab your favorite herbal tea or power smoothie, and let's get ready to rock your world naturally. Ladies, spring has arrived, and you know what that means. It's time to shed those unwanted winter pounds and get into shape for the summer. That's why I'm personally inviting you to be a part of my next live Get Fit 21 health group, Spring It On, which kicks off on April the 15th. Get Fit 21 is a medically endorsed educational and accountability program to help you achieve and maintain a lifelong healthy weight, blood sugar, cholesterol, blood pressure, and a positive mindset. More than 35,000 people have experienced dramatic and positive results. You can go to my website, rekishiamcmillan.com, and send me a message to let me know that you'd like to be a part of this month's group. I'll also include the link in my show notes. I would love to personally coach you and help you spring into a healthy and happier lifestyle. My guest, Abbey Haegney, shares that for 20 years she struggled with poor body image and negative self-talk. For her, food was good or bad. There was no in between. Movement was to burn calories or punish herself for the bad foods. She couldn't walk by a mirror without a script of criticism running through her mind. She thought that this was normal. She thought that this was just what women did. She thought that she was healthy, but Abbey was so far from it. And when she realized this, she knew she couldn't be the only one. Abbey knew that so many women struggled in the same way that she did. As she came out of this, she learned to quiet what she calls her inner mean girl and create healthy habits that were actually healthy, and completely changed her life, and knew that she could help other women to do it too. She could help them in a way that diets didn't, because change never comes from the things that we do. And that's why women jump from diet to diet and workout plan to workout plan. Change comes from within us, from the stories that we tell ourselves and the thoughts that we choose to believe. From her experience, Abbey created a simple and effective process that allows women to feel healthy and confident by leading with mindset. thank you so much to all of you who are tuning in to today's show. As women, we deserve to feel healthy and confident in our bodies while living the life that we love. And my guest today, Abbey Haegney, is going to provide us with some tips and tools to help us to achieve that goal. So I am excited to have her with us on the show today. So, Abbey, welcome to the Rock Your World Naturally show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, it is a pleasure to have you. And so, one of the things I like to ask guests from time to time, is there anything that you are doing in your world right now that is rocking your world naturally, whether that's self care, meditation practice? What are you doing in your life?
Yeah, it's funny you should ask. One of the things that I started this year off with, I don't make resolutions, but I like to make intentions for kind of how I want to behave and think. And one of the things that I decided I wanted to start incorporating were cold showers in the morning.
Mm, mhm.
Cold therapy can be so good for managing our emotions and for inflammation in our body. And so I was like, I'm just going to give it a try. So if you know me, I like a warm shower, and not even a warm shower, a hot shower. So incorporating a cold shower, and I only do about a couple minutes at the end of my shower. It was very intimidating for me. And every day I get in and I'm like, I'm not going to do it today. But
Mhm.
every day I'm like, you know what? I really want to end my shower with a burst of cold. The way that it just increases my energy and gives like this burst of life at the end, it's pretty incredible. So I will share that in case anybody is intrigued by it. It is not always something that I want to do. It does not always feel good in the moment, but it's not always about feeling good in the moment. It's about how good we feel after the fact. So
Mm.
highly recommend it. It has been really fun to play around with and it feels really good.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I am all about the hydrotherapy, water therapy. So thank
Yes.
you for sharing that because a lot of women don't recognize the benefits of the cold water
Mm.
and healing power, as you said, Abby, that it helps with inflammation, it gives you energy, and these are all things that we need as women, as moms, and all of the things that we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I am excited today to hear about what it is that you do to help women with our health, Abby. So, can you kind of share your journey and where you got to where you are today? How did it all start for you?
Yeah. So when I was 12 years old, I was in gymnastics. It was something that I loved. I did it with my best friend, and it was one of those things that we looked forward to whenever we went. And I had one of my coaches one time made a comment about gymnasts needing to be small, and we should be careful not to gain weight. And I think back and I don't believe he meant any harm by it. I don't even know that he thought about what he was saying. And I always will say that out of 100 girls, 95 of them may not have heard it, may not have thought anything of it. And then there were 5 of us that really got hit hard by that comment. And I was one of them. And from that moment on, at a very young age, again, it was about 12 years old, food became something that was either good or it was bad. There was no in between. I moved my body to burn off calories or to punish myself for the quote unquote bad foods. And I really lived in a world of a lot of self criticism and self loathing. I couldn't walk by a mirror without thinking negative thoughts about myself. I hated looking at pictures of myself. And I really just thought that this was how women and girls lived. I thought this was a normal way of life. I thought that we watched what we ate, we restricted our food, food was good or bad, and movement was punishment. And I really did not understand how unhealthy that relationship that I had with food, with movement, with my body really was, until I got pregnant with my son. He was our first child. He's 8 years old now, so it was a number of years ago. But at that time when I found out that I was pregnant, it was a very joyous occasion. It was something that my husband and I had wanted. I was very excited to be pregnant. I couldn't wait to bring a baby into the world. And at the same time, it was terrifying because I had the thought, I have to gain weight. And that was scary to me because I wanted to gain weight, first of all. I wanted to have a healthy pregnancy. I knew that in order to have a healthy pregnancy, for me to be healthy, for the baby to be healthy, I had to gain weight, right? That's a natural part of the process. But at the same time, I didn't know how to do that. And I didn't want to fall into a trap where I wasn't doing it in a healthy way, or I was avoiding doing it in a really unhealthy way. And it took me a very long time, but that moment made me realize really how unhealthy that I had been most of my life. And I knew that it had to change. I knew that I had to stop listening to that inner mean girl who was always bringing myself down. And I had to have the confidence to stand up to her and to start rewriting my story in a way that not only made me feel good, but that was going to inspire the people around me, especially this baby that I was bringing into the world. We didn't know if it was going to be a boy or a girl, and it really didn't matter. I wanted to be somebody that felt confident in their bodies, who had healthy habits that inspired people to feel good. And that had to start with feeling that way myself. And I knew that it would have such a ripple effect if I could make that change.
Mm. And that is so powerful that you shared that it began for you in your childhood when you were a little girl.
Yeah.
And so many times I often say this, Abby, that we go through childhood pain, whether it's emotional trauma that affects and impacts us still in our adult lives as
Mhm.
women.
Mhm.
And one of the things that you said is that you had to stand up to quiet that inner mean girl that was speaking those words of criticism and negative self talk, those things about poor body image. And so for you, it was when you became pregnant
Mhm.
with the thought of giving birth to a child and bringing life into the world. And so, what did that look like for you, Abby? Like, how did you start that journey to inner healing?
Yeah. The number one place I think we all have to start, and is where I started, is really awareness. I had to slow down. I had to take the uncomfortable moments and really listen to the way that I was speaking to myself. I had
Mm,
to hear those words in a different way. I had to hear them in a way that wasn't going to send me down a spiral of, actions and more negative self talk and really just getting nowhere. I really had to sit back and listen to them as if they were a movie script. It's kind of how I always like to say it. I think it's a good
mm,
visual way of saying it. It's like in my mind, that script was like those like old movie projectors with like the wheels that were like clicking. And when I took a moment to step back and see my thoughts as this movie projector going on to the screen, and really listening to everything that it was saying, and then being able to write all of these thoughts down like it was a script. Like I was going to write the story and I was going to mail it into a movie producer. Like, here's what's going on in my mind. That really allowed me to just simply bring awareness to what it was that I was saying to ourselves or saying to myself, because I think we can so quickly believe those thoughts to be true, right? It's like we're watching the news and it's the facts of the world is whatever our inner mean girl is telling us. But the reality is they're just sentences in our mind. And they're sentences that really are there to protect us, to keep us safe from stepping into something that's unknown. But it just makes us feel terrible when we listen to them. And, not all of the thoughts, but a lot of us that do struggle with this inner mean girl that tells us, we should be something different, or we're not capable, or we'll never get there, or anything we try is not working. It really holds us back. But when you can actually tap into those thoughts, become aware of them from a very neutral place of, I'm just going to listen. I'm not going to react. I'm just going to listen. And I highly recommend to anybody who's listening, I do this with my clients too, is to actually get them out of your head and write them down. Write them in a journal, see them on paper. I think there is a magic shift that happens when we physically get thoughts out of our head and onto paper and can actually look at the things that we're saying to ourselves, the things that we are believing. And then it gives us the opportunity to go through each of them and ask ourselves, is this true? How am I believing that this is true? How might this not be true? What do I want to believe instead? Really tapping into, how do each of these thoughts make me feel? And how do I want to feel? And what do I need to believe in order to feel the way that I want to feel? And those simple things can make such a profound shift in the way that you just start your journey, and a place that you can come back to. Because that inner mean girl, if I can tell anybody anything and have them take it away, it's that inner mean girl will never go away. She will always pop back up. But when you have this awareness of the things that you're saying and how they make you feel and what you want to feel and the thoughts that you need to think in order to feel that way, it's so much more powerful to quiet her down when she pops back up.
Mm. And I love that therapeutic piece as far as writing down those
Mhm.
negative thoughts, because that does bring us into a greater awareness, writing it out. And then, as you said, Abby, looking at it and saying, okay, am I going to believe the lie? Am I going to believe this as being true or not? But it really helps us to work through those negative recurring thoughts that may be bombarding our mind, and
Mhm.
then replacing them with how we truly want to see ourselves.
Yeah.
Hmm. And so for you, Abby, did faith or any type of spirituality come into play when it came through working through these issues for you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that came up for me is we need to believe in ourselves. That
Mhm.
has to be the first step, is that belief in ourselves and belief in what is possible and what we are capable of. And we don't always have evidence of that belief. And I think this is really where it ties to faith, and that faith is being sure of what you hope for and certain of the things that you do not see. That's
Mhm.
exactly what we need to do in order to create change, in order to create the habits that we want to create and become the person that we want to become. We have to believe in ourselves and we have to be willing to do it before there's any evidence that it's possible. That belief, that faith in ourselves and what we want to achieve is what creates the evidence. It
Mhm.
creates that foundation for the change, for the transformation. It's what it was for my life. It's what it is for my clients. When I see them go through the same journey, it has to start with that belief.
Mhm. And that's so good that, as you shared, that faith is being sure of what we hope for, that we may not be able to see it physically, but we can visualize that to the point of where, okay, this is how I see myself in the long run. This is where I want to be in my health or in my
Mm.
emotional state to get back to that place of being that healthy woman that we were created to be. And so definitely having that faith is pivotal and key to
Yeah.
our foundation of health.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you can really step into that, when you can really envision what you want for your life, when you really think about who you'll be when you create those habits, what's going to be different for your life? What are you doing when you become that person? And how is that impacting you and everybody around you? Everything starts to become clear. You
Mhm.
start to do the things that you see that person doing. You start to believe the things that you see that person believing and feeling the way that that person feels. So you become that person
Mhm.
even before you've taken any action. When you do
Mhm.
that, you take action from a very different place, right? Like when I think back, I was taking all of the actions growing up, right? I was watching what I ate and I was moving my body and I was doing all of the things that I thought I was healthy, but doing that from a place of self-hatred versus belief that I'm doing this for the best of me and I'm
Mhm.
going to do things that make me feel my best versus I have to do these things,
Yeah.
they end up in very different results.
Mhm. Mhm. And that's so good because as you have, walked along your journey and gotten to this place of self-love. I say that self-care is the highest form of self-love, where you're loving yourself and doing all the things to nurture your emotional, physical, even spiritual well-being. And now you're able to pour out and give back to other women.
Yeah.
And so in the work that you do, like what aspect of your work do you enjoy the most?
Yeah. For me, it's really seeing the impact that the work that I do, that the process I take my clients through has on their lives. I went into health coaching because I was so passionate about helping people to feel good. And when I first started out, it really did start from, here's the foods that are going to make you feel your best. And yes, hydrate and move your body. And that's all very important, but the mindset piece was the
Mhm,
biggest thing for me. I
mhm,
think when I really tapped into, well, what's my story? What do I know to be true? What changed my life? It
mhm,
came down to really quieting that inner mean girl and looking at those thoughts and creating new ones and watching as that mindset shifted the way that I felt and the things that I did and ultimately the results that I created in my life.
mhm,
And I think to be able to bring that to women and tell them, you really don't need to overcomplicate this. It doesn't need to be hard. It doesn't need to be overwhelming. There's a lot, especially in the world of health and wellness, there are a lot of opinions out there. There are a lot of things that everybody says is the thing that works. But
mhm,
the thing that works is really inside of each of us, and it looks different for each of us. And it's being able to tap into where are we getting stuck? And
mhm,
where are you holding yourself back? And what are you forcing yourself to do that really doesn't work for you? And let's start to move away from that and take notice of what does work for you. And let's just do more of what does work and less of what doesn't. And instead of seeing the things that don't work as failures, or I know for me and for a lot of my clients, they come in and they're like, nothing works, right? And stopping that sentence alone and just thinking, I can find out exactly what works for me. And taking every little mishap or quote unquote failure as an opportunity to learn from it and to almost celebrate it and be like, well, now I know exactly what I don't want to be doing because this didn't
mhm,
work for me. And it just has such a profound impact, not only on your habits and your health, but really your life, the way that you can manage your mind when it comes to food and movement and self-care has such a ripple effect on being able to manage your mind when it comes to your kids acting out and your
Mhm.
relationship with your friends and your partner. And so much stress that comes onto our lives can just be better handled when you feel like you have the confidence and the control and the authority to really make the change and to respond in a way that feels right for you.
Mhm. Yeah, I really love the aspect of where you said that working on that mental piece first, because that's really where most of the battle takes place is within our mindsets. Because whether it's something that we heard as a little girl, something that we heard in
Mhm.
teenage years, or even in our adult years as women, it's learning to really recondition the mindset as you're sharing, Abby, to think about the good things, the positive things to bring about that transformation in our lives. Because when we can change the mind, then it has that ripple effect, as you shared, to touch so many different areas of our life for improvement.
Yes, exactly. Change never comes from the things that we do. I mean, you say it, right? That's why we jump from diet to diet and workout plan to workout plan. We think that
Hmm.
it's all of the actions that we're going to take that's going to create the change that we want in our lives. But until you tap into why you stop doing those things, what's coming up for you that says, hey, this isn't working, go do something else,
Hmm.
it's not going to actually create the results that you want. Change always comes from within us. It always comes from the stories that we're telling ourselves. And that's what changes well, this isn't working. I better throw in the towel to, okay,
Hmm.
this didn't work. I'm going to find a different solution. I'm going to look at this differently. I haven't found what works for me yet. And that will always keep you going. And when you're always going, you always have
Hmm.
something to evaluate. You can always look at what's working and what's not, and what you're going to do differently. So you keep moving forward.
Hmm. And so, for those women who are listening, Abby, and they may be thinking about, their own life and the things that they have experienced, whether there's women that are listening that still may have struggles with poor body image
Mhm.
or negative self talk, or whether it's, that script of criticism that's running through their mind, and they're listening and they're wanting to be able to connect with you to see how they can move beyond that. Where can they find you? How can they work with you, Abby?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm most active on Instagram. My handle on Instagram is Wellness with Abby H. And if this really resonates with someone and they want to know more, I always offer a free consultation. And that's really an opportunity for me to understand what's happening, what's going on with you, where you're feeling stuck, what have you tried before, and what's not working, and where do you want to be. And all of my programs are tailored uniquely to the individual that I'm working with. So once I have a clear understanding of what's going on with you, I'm able to tell you exactly what we need to do to get you to where you want to be. And that all happens on that free consultation, which you can schedule either on Instagram simply by messaging me, or on my website, which is Wellness with Abby H. There's a link on there that you can schedule that as well.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for sharing that. And are there any parting words, Abby, that you'd like to share with our audience today?
Yeah, I would love to tell any woman that is feeling frustrated by this, that does feel that inner mean girl is in the driver's seat more than she's in the back seat where we would like her to be, that it's okay, that just because this has been what has been normal for you, as it was for me, it doesn't mean that it always has to be this way. We have the power to completely change our future. regardless of the things that we've tried in the past, of what hasn't worked for us, of the things that have held us back or that just make us feel like we're completely stuck. We can rewrite that story. We can blow our own minds by changing that narrative and really seeing what we are truly capable of. So put your hand on your heart if you feel this. Tell yourself that it's okay and that it is possible for you to achieve any goal that you have for yourself to feel healthier and more confident.
Thank you so much for those words, Abby. And I could just visualize the women everywhere putting their hand on their heart and speaking those words of life and encouragement into their situation. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, Abby, it has been my absolute pleasure to host you on the Rock Your World Naturally show today.
Thank you. I've loved being here.
Oh, thank you so much. And I know that the work that you're doing is going to affect and impact so many women's lives. So, again, thank you so much for being my guest on today's show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Okay, you have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. I pray that it blessed and challenged you to move towards living the abundant life that God has for you. If so, would you stop right now to share this episode with someone who's been praying to improve their health spiritually, physically, or emotionally? I would love it if you could take 30 seconds to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. This is the only way that I know that you're liking the show. Also, it rocks my world to hear from you. Lastly, come on over to my free community, RekishiaMcMillanCommunity.com, to grab your free gifts. I have everything you need to know about working with me, taking my courses, or connecting. Also, head over to RekishiaMcMillan.com to explore my health products and sign up for free complimentary health coaching. My prayer for you will always be 3 John 2. Beloved, I wish above all things that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. I'll see you in a few days. God bless.